Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin. I'm going to be your host tonight, and with me, I have three other Infinity Bros. Yes, that's right. It is a return to the Bros, and I'm very delighted to have on really the important Bros for this episode. So,
absolutely.
Number one just spoke. It's Jarrett Curtis.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
Jarrett has been geeking out with Robbie about Magic the Gathering while Zane figured out his audio issues for like 10 minutes now. And I've just been sitting in silence as they continue to babble on. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 10 minutes. So thanks, Jarrett.
Yeah. So this, you know what it feels like to me? My wife, and you'll understand this because you are also a nurse, but like when nurses have to study for their finals and stuff, a lot of them study out loud or they'll talk to each other. Medical terms sound like two people just yelling gibberish at each other. I feel like that's what it's like when Robbie and I go off on Magic.
It's probably true. Yeah, that probably makes a lot of sense. So anyways, the other person involved in that conversation was Robbie Sutter. How you doing, Robbie?
I'm great. I'm happy that we're here at the TCG podcast. Glad that we're making this change. Any TCG you're interested in, that's what we're doing now. We don't even watch shows anymore. We just do TCGs.
We don't even watch
Star Wars Unlimited, Lorcana, One Piece, Dragon Ball Super, Magic the Gathering. We're doing all of them.
Divorced dads.
It's next on the list.
And then Pokemon. Yeah. Pokemon's down there like 8 or 7.
Yeah, Pokemon's there with divorced dads. Yeah, exactly. And last but certainly not least, my partner in crime that is a Magic noob as well, Zane Ellis.
Yeah, definitely noob. Happy to be here. Happy to be live.
You are a Magic noob, but you did say that you bought some Magic Commander decks, though, right, Zane?
I did. I bought all 4 of the Fallout Commander decks just because it was Fallout, and I'm like, I gotta jump in somewhere. So
Fallout, huh?
That's where I went. Yep.
Speaking of Fallout, that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. But we've got a lot of things to talk about before then. So obviously we can't dive into Fallout right at the beginning of the episode because we've got a lot of nerd news to talk about. And by the way, if you want to hear more about what Zane just said about almost dying, you can go check out our Patreon. He gives the full detailed story about how he almost died. And it's an Infinity Bros exclusive. So unfortunately I can't let you disclose, Zane, the rest of your story here on this main
exclusive
episode.
Interview that you have to get
exclusive interview.
If you want to know about Zane.
It's a HIPAA violation, but he waived his rights just for the Patreon.
All we can tell you is that Zane got saddled.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah,
that sounds right. Yeah.
That is certainly one way to say it. Yes. Zane, we are very happy to have you back with us. And I'm so excited to be on this episode with all of you guys because I feel like it's been a hot minute since we've had this many bros on an episode together. So
yeah, no kidding.
I didn't even know we had this many bros.
Honestly, same. It's been feeling a little sparse in the Infinity Bros universe lately. So if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, you can go to theinfinitybros.com and listen to all of our previous episodes. Latest 2 episodes, we've got Thomas and Frank from the Geek Freaks and Challenge Accepted podcast. And I actually just guested on their podcast last night too. So that should be coming out this week sometime. Great dudes though. And it was so fun to talk with them about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix live action version, and Halo Season 2, which we also talked about a little bit on the Patreon as well. And as soon as we mentioned Halo, Robbie got up and stormed out of his little studio there.
I'm thinking about doing it again.
Yeah. Second time mentioning, and I can just see the redness building up in his face.
Yeah.
It's already there naturally, but it's getting even worse. A lot of nice little Easter eggs that you guys can hear if you go check out the Infinity Bros Patreon for unedited episodes and exclusive podcast episodes as well. So make sure you guys go check that out. All right. Now, boys, back to the nerd news.
Hey Zane, I was looking into getting into this Gunpla thing. There's one called the Unicorn Banshee. What the heck is that all about? Actually, Jarrett, what you're thinking of is RX-0 Unicorn Gundam 2 Banshee, which is from the Mobile Suit Gundam. Actually, you know what? It's time for nerd news.
Oh man, Robbie's he's getting his Master Chief helmet on because
All he has to do.
Finish the fight.
Keep the thing on.
Pablo Schrader didn't wear his helmet enough in the Halo show, so Robbie's doing it for him.
I've already worn the helmet longer than he did.
Right. Speaking of Halo news, and I feel like since we're in nerd news, I can talk about this real quick. Zane, have you seen the Baja Blast Doritos?
The Baja
Yes.
Blast.
Zane's already pre-ordered.
Blew my mind, and I almost bought them, but my wife looked at me and just shook her head. So I was like, "All right,
Wait.
That is very interesting. I want to know how they taste.
Wait. You have to pre-order them?
The Baja Blast Doritos. No, you don't. You can actually just pick them up.
No, I was just saying that Zane pre-ordered them because it's Zane.
I thought you actually had to
the
pre-order
collector's edition.
Collector's edition
Comes with a waifu Cortana statue.
Oh,
okay. So
okay.
On that note, though, one time I was in Jubilee, the grocery store that's near my hometown, and it is going through the mac and cheese aisle because my kids love mac and cheese. That's like one of the only meals that they eat, right? And they have Cheetos.
Yeah, they have hot Cheetos mac and cheese.
Hot Cheetos, normal Cheetos. They have like several different flavors of Cheetos mac and cheese.
Disgusting.
And I was like, I saw it and I was like, this doesn't even look good, but I have to get a box. Like, I just have to. I can't look at this and not get one. So I got it, and yeah, it was not that great. So
it's so gross.
I was able to eat the whole, box because it's a smaller-ish box.
Dude, you're supposed to eat the noodles, not the box.
Yeah. Well, the directions weren't clear on that, Jarrett. So
after eating the noodles, which would you rather have, the box or the noodles?
You know what? Honestly, probably the box. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, you can have your opinion. I would have rather eaten the noodles, but that's just my opinion. So
hot Cheetos Mountain Dew was something.
That
wasn't
worse.
bad, but it
that
wasn't
sounds worse than mac and
was
cheese.
something.
It wasn't bad. Like, I don't want to say it was bad because it actually wasn't, but it wasn't good. It was just kind of like inexperience.
It was weird.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
That just sounds bizarre. Like, just one of those publicity stunts, like that is just doing it just to do it.
Yep.
Dude, and not really
I
expecting.
could go on this forever. Like the Heinz collaboration with what's the ice cream company? They made ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise flavored ice cream.
I've seen
this
those.
Could be a whole segment, dude.
All right, well, top 5 different flavored foods. Here we go.
Number 1, Sweetos.
How did we get here?
I just hijacked the show. This is what happens when you
nerd news. I mean,
the fire
we're talking about nerd news, Bob. Baja Blast flavored Doritos, obviously.
All right, I'll relinquish the mic, Robbie. Yeah, I've derailed this enough.
Here's the real topics that I brought for nerd news. The number 1 is, so we've obviously been hearing a lot about Fantastic Four. They came out with the casting earlier this year. Julia Garner was announced to have been casted as Silver Surfer, or Shala Bal, who is Norrin Rod's wife or spouse, significant other in the comics. So yeah, a lot of, and we heard a rumor a long time ago about the Silver Surfer potentially being cast as a woman. What do you guys think about this casting? Do you think it's going to be a one-off thing with the movie? Is she going to be a recurring character? Where do we even begin to tackle this news?
I wanted to say, I think woke Hollywood is destroying America. Women have to be allowed in movies, and I think that's just ridiculous.
Robbie, stop. Jared's talking.
No joke. I was like, surely the internet will have a normal reaction to this one. No, dude, people were so mad.
They didn't. No.
And the funny thing about the mad people is that they just see Silver Surfer female
Right.
and just immediately blow up. Like, they don't even bother to check into the news and see if they are, like,
An original
casting a
character.
female as a male character. No, they're Marvel's doing their thing. They're like casting real characters and stuff like that. But yeah, it's, of course, this is going to be a major issue for the internet. Of why wouldn't it be? I feel like almost any news that comes out these days is, anyways. So
Yeah. So
Good
we went
or
on
bad,
Truth
it's
Social
always
and just like
gonna be
posted
crazy.
about it and kind of blew up.
Jared, I don't even know what these things are that you're talking about.
I know.
good thing you're the anti-woke voice for us, Robbie.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll just go on by saying I don't care.
Thank you for that.
This is my Zane analysis from when we first started. Just being like, yeah, I don't care. I don't have any other. I don't have any other thoughts on it. I guess it'll be good or it'll be bad. I guess I'll see it in the movie. If I'm mad about it, they're probably not going to change it. So,
Right.
just
Hey, the internet
is
was
what it
mad
is.
about Sonic, and they changed that. So
That's true.
that's
Hey,
true.
You know what?
So are you saying we should change this? Is
No,
that what you're
I'm
saying?
not saying that.
You can start that
I'm just saying, if you get mad enough about something, it could possibly change.
But in that instance, we were all right.
That's
And they're
Absolutely true.
they're making a third movie because
Yeah.
of us.
True.
Like
We wake up
if-
tomorrow morning and Isaac has the biggest like change.org petition to turn
Oh,
every single movie theater into like Dune popcorn buckets instead of regular popcorn.
oh boy, man.
And he's like, "We changed Sonic. We can do this, brothers."
We can do it. We can do it.
Mark would be
My
so
change
excited.
petition gets like 4 signatures, and
It's Mark and 3 other burners accounts.
it would be. Oh man. So yeah. Anyways, Julia Garner. Back to her. I didn't recognize the name. I'm not familiar with her, but she's apparently known for a few movies. The Assistant. She's in Sin City. Martha Macy.
Any relation
Marlene?
to Jennifer Garner? That's the only way.
I honestly have no clue. So maybe not.
You heard it here first. Robbie is pro nepotism in Hollywood.
And the Ozark TV series, which I also haven't watched. So yeah, I did not recognize her name at all. But Zane, what thoughts do you have for us on this casting? I'm very interested to hear what you
The
have to say.
panic that entered his soul.
I was like, what? No, I got no beef against the actress or anything. My only thing was, as Silver Surfer, I think it's a missed opportunity to not bring in Nornrad. Like, I get you can bring him down the line, but I'm just, as such an iconic thing of like, you're bringing in the Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, like that's the big iconic name. And so I think it's more of a dropping the ball a bit by not using Nornrad. Like, I'm not, obviously never seen the movie, so I don't know how it's going to portray. I don't know how it's going to come out or turn out. And yeah, you can introduce him later, whatever it is. But I just felt it was a missed opportunity to not use such a huge character that is the Silver Surfer we all know.
One thing that I saw online that was an interesting theory was that they maybe are casting her and some different like iterations of characters because the Fantastic Four is from a different dimension or multiverse, and they're going to escape that multiverse while it gets destroyed or something and get plugged into the MCU. So like, hey, in that case, potentially we could get a MCU, Nornrad still.
Right.
But I thought that was kind of an interesting theory just because the vibe of the Fantastic Four movie is like very like 60s-esque. I mean, I think they actually confirmed too that it's going to be set in the 60s.
Got some Fallout vibes.
Yeah, right. Like, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But that could be kind of a little nod to like, hey, they're not going to stay around, and a lot of those side characters may not, continue in, keep popping up in the MCU or anything like that. So, who knows? All right. Next thing we got up is some Star Wars news. We've got a trailer about a couple weeks ago now of Tales of the Empire, which we knew we were getting kind of a sequel season to Tales of the Jedi. Had no clue it was going to be Tales of the Empire, and showing kind of these little short, 15 to 20 minute episodes of the Empire characters now. instead of the Jedi. So that was very interesting. Going to be releasing on May the 4th. And Zane, I'll let you start since you're also a big Star Wars guy with me. I mean, we kind of all are, but Zane and me go way back on the Infinity Bros podcast with our Star Wars episodes. So Zane, what do you think about Tales of the Empire?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think there's so much room that you can do. I mean, even what we saw from Tales of the Jedi and just exploring, the other side with the Empire, like it makes sense. Like I'm here for it. And there's just so many stories to be told in Star Wars, and especially in a short form like that, there's so much you can do in those stories. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're going to tell us, and how they can add and build some more to some of these characters we know.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of the most interesting stuff we got a Morgan Elsbeth appearance in the trailer. Barriss O'Fee apparently is becoming an Inquisitor, which is very interesting, or that's kind of what it seemed like the trailer was setting up. And we see her last in Clone Wars, and she kind of, I don't know, does she, I forget what her ending is in Clone Wars. Does she end up leaving the Jedi Order? Or she just like checks out, or what's her deal?
Well, yeah, because I thought she left because like her and Ahsoka basically do the same. They both just leave, but they kind of leave on different footing or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very interesting factor in that trailer. And then we see appearances of Thrawn, General Grievous, the Grand Inquisitor. There's a lot to unpack in this trailer. Jarrett, what do you think of Tales of the Empire?
I think that obviously, like some of the live action stuff on Disney Plus with Disney with Star Wars has been kind of hit or miss. We've got some greats. We've also had some real stinkers. I'm looking at you, Boba Fett. But I think with the short form and especially the animated stuff, Visions 1 and 2 were phenomenal. Obviously, Tales of the Jedi was phenomenal. And I think it allows them to sort of explore a lot of the sides of the story that we didn't get to see. And I think people have been clamoring for a long time to let's get away from the Skywalkers for a bit and explore what the rest of this looks like. And I think this is a good opportunity to do that. It allows them to make sort of like these what if Elseworld style like mini bite series and explore like what do Star Wars fans want to see in a world where like the main storyline has now kind of finished its arc in a way that people were not too settled with. And so I think it's a good way of testing the waters for what's next for Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think they did such a great job with Tales of the Jedi with packing so much into those short episodes too.
Absolutely.
And they weren't like incomplete like you almost would imagine them to be with being that short, but they told a lot of story in those really short amount of time. And if they can do the same thing they did with Tales of the Jedi with Tales of the Empire, I'm 100% all in on this show. Robbie, do you have any thoughts on Tales of the Empire?
I honestly didn't even know this was a thing until about 37 seconds ago.
You're welcome.
But
that's your nerd news for today.
But I really have enjoyed like all of the miniseries that they've been doing on Disney, so it's easier for me to actually watch. So I will definitely sit down and watch these because outside of like I can't even finish like a season of Ahsoka or Miss Marvel or any of that stuff, but this stuff I can finish.
Right. This is nice bite-sized stuff that you can just catch in pieces during the day, which is really nice. And like I said before, it tells a pretty dang good story in like just short amounts of time, which I feel like you even in Clone Wars and like Rebels, sometimes you don't get everything you want in an episode because they have that time constraint, but these do such a great job of finishing storylines in the short amount of time they have. So yeah. And who doesn't like a good Star Wars villain, right? Like Star Wars has some of the best villains out there. Let's see some of their origins in animated form.
Where's the Jar Jar Binks origin story?
Ooh. What if we get a Darth Jar Jar episode?
That'd be sweet. Yeah. I want it.
That would be awesome. All right. Next thing I have for Nerd News is more Star Wars. Star Wars Outlaws just came out with the trailer a couple weeks ago. This is, a Star Wars RPG that is set kind of in the, underbelly of the Star Wars universe. It looks like the main character is kind of like a bounty hunter-esque type person, kind of associating with the bounty hunters and, like I said, underbelly of the Star Wars universe, which I feel like is a great way to expand the Star Wars universe, because we always get the cool stories of the Jedi, right? Like, I mean, that's what a lot of people are drawn to Star Wars for. But now we're starting to explore some of those other areas with like Bad Batch and, Andor, some of these really good shows that don't have the Force, don't have Jedi in them, starting to kind of just like explore the recesses of the Star Wars universe that I didn't know I wanted, but I love them. So what do you think of the trailer, Jarrett? And are you going to be picking this one up immediately on release?
Yeah, so the vibe is very much like I like these sort of like gritty, dark underbelly style of stories that they do in Star Wars. It's why like Dr. Aphra is my favorite character, and this seems to like play up that vibe as well. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but Star Wars was working on a project, gosh, probably a decade ago now, called 1313, and it was sort of like along this same vein.
Mhm.
And I get the feeling that they're taking the bones of like the good ideas that were there, which were plentiful, and creating something like this. And again, I hate to beat that dead horse, but people are already boycotting this because it's like a female-led protagonist.
That's
but
so stupid.
I don't get it. I feel like we have to trust the system here a little bit, because like both of the Fallen Order games have been phenomenal,
so good.
And so like, why would you look at that and be like, they're gonna make it woke or whatever the complaint is this time? Like,
right. I
just
feel
enjoy
like
the ride that we've been on.
Yeah, I feel like
Because
that's just like a general internet complaint at this point,
Yeah.
because like true video gamers realize that like female lead characters have been around since the beginning of
Tomb
video
Raider.
games,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
Tomb
it's
Raider.
not like this is a new thing,
Right.
but the internet just likes to take things and blow them out of proportion.
Well, I think it's also
What? That doesn't
getting
sound right.
added to it because of the fact it's Ubisoft, and everyone is just pissed off at
Right.
Ubisoft right now.
Which
And so
I
it's just every little thing. Like,
understand, but
very fair. Very fair.
Understandably. I think it'll be interesting to see how even if you have a Ubisoft formula Star Wars game, we've been getting EA games for
right.
10 plus years now. So like, hey, I'm down for something different. I'm totally cool with whatever they come out with, and it looks phenomenal. Looks great.
AAA open world RPG set in Star Wars, like this is.
It seems
We've
like
been
it should be.
saying
It
it
can't
forever,
miss.
yeah.
People want
Right.
it, yeah.
This is our bread and butter. The one, I shouldn't say one, but like one of the biggest downsides to this is they announced, how games these days are being priced, right? You get the $70 like base, you get some sort of like gold edition, and then a collector's edition type things, and they usually scale it up a little bit. The scale up on these games is pretty ridiculous. It is $110 for the next level up, $130 for the collector's edition. And quote me if I'm wrong on this, Zane, you probably know just as much, if not more than I do, but it looks like the only benefit, like in-game benefit you're getting from those is extra skins in the game.
Well,
And it's
immediately. So it's going to be cosmetic. I know the like the collector, the highest one, will have like a digital art book. And then I know the higher price ones will also cover like the season pass or any future DLC. But what the
Do
big
we
one
need
that
a season pass for
Right.
a story RPG? Like,
Right. Well,
why?
well,
Why do you
That's
need,
the point.
Why do you
It's
need a digital
Ubisoft.
art book?
right,
Ubisoft.
right, exactly. Well, what everyone is really pissed about now too is the initial part of that pass is you have to buy. I think it comes with the first like upgrade, so like the 110 is there's a locked mission you get from Jabba the Hutt that you can only get right away if you buy that edition.
Oh my god!
And you're just like, what?
Stupid.
That's such an iconic thing for Jabba the Hutt, but like it's Ubisoft. They put it behind a paywall to get that right away, and it's like that should be in the
So
game.
stupid.
So again, that's what adds to
Before
the
you
whole.
can even play the game, there's a paywall.
Is this? Are they
That's
going to
brilliant.
Suicide Squad kills the Justice League this thing and just like
I hope not, but
burn
like
it down?
I really hope not. But
No, 'cause
that's
it's Star Wars.
that's-
People do,
well,
people do.
right. But
That's
that's
true.
That's my tear on it. It's just like,
Well, I
it
mean,
looks sweet. It's the game we want.
right.
Ubisoft.
We go back to Battlefront. Was it Battlefront 2? I think the newer Battlefront 2
Yeah.
when they came out and Vader could only be played if you
You had to buy
bought
that.
him with actual currency, not in-game currency.
Yeah.
Like you had to buy him with actual currency, and people freaked out about that, like hardcore. And then EA backpedaled and they were like, "Oh, okay, we'll make it so you can buy it with in-game currency." Type of
And
stuff.
he was wicked expensive for a
It
very
still
long
was
time.
ridiculously
Yeah.
expensive, but at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe we just need to freak out about. This is another one of those things. Let's just make an outrage on the internet, and that'll change things,
That'll
right?
change it.
Definitely.
But at the same time, it's like companies keep doing this because they're getting people to pay for it.
That's the
There's
unfortunate
plenty
part,
of suckers out there.
right?
Right. Like right now, the other, like, granted, I haven't played Call of Duty in a long time, but like, do you see the big uproar in Call of Duty right now?
Mm-hmm.
So for Warzone is with a type of like crossover with the Godzilla Kong movie that, Kong's gauntlet.
Okay, I see that.
Well, they made a gauntlet for the melee gauntlet to have in your character, and not in-game currency. It costs real world $80.
Holy
Whoa.
cow!
My lord! What?
$80 real money.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting a real Infinity Gauntlet, or a Lego Infinity Gauntlet with that. Holy crap!
Isn't
It's
it
insane.
like Fortnite level? Like there's like
Jeez.
SZA in the game and like
Right. There's
like
Cardi
Grande
B.
It's
and-
so wild for Call of Duty. They're just like
Yeah.
grasping at straws at this point
Right.
to be
It's like
as much
people
as
pay it.
Fortnite as possible.
It's ridiculous.
That is wild.
funny.
Yeah, but like you said though, there's suckers out there that are gonna buy it.
Yep.
Somebody's gonna buy it.
That's true in every medium because
That's also true.
Magic the Gathering is struggling with that right now. So like, that's true in
That'd
pretty much
be like
every
the-
I feel
single
like you
medium.
come out with a video every other day of like, oh well, yeah, who's gonna boycott it this time? Well, not me,
Yep.
because I'm gonna go buy it right now.
I'm gonna go buy it right now.
If they ever do that with Crocs, Robbie's really in trouble.
I'm all in on Crocs. Lava
Robbie-
Spur Crocs.
Robbie is the new Croc
boots.
Lord. He bought a pair of Crocs,
I
guys.
bought one pair
it's
of
pretty wild.
Crocs, and I just now it's
That's
part
his
of my
bit.
personality.
That's who
Yeah,
he is
that's
now.
My personality
that's how it works, right? Like you buy a
I'm
pair of
pretty sure.
Crocs, it becomes part of your personality.
It was either that or a New Balance, so I went Crocs.
Ooh, you
No,
picked the
wrong
wrong, you picked the wrong
choice.
one, dude.
Wrong
Yeah.
choice. Wrong choice.
I can't. I'm not.
Hey,
I'm
you
not-
get
I'm
New
not good enough
Balance, and
on-
you could just fully embrace the suburban dad lifestyle.
I'm not good enough on the grill for a pair of New Balance. I'm also not committed to my yard enough for a pair of New Balance.
Well, that's
I
why you
feel
don't
like
get the
that's
white
also true.
ones.
People who buy Crocs instead of New Balances are the type of people who wear pajamas to the store like frequently. You know what I mean?
I don't wear pajamas.
Okay, good.
I'm at Walmart in
gosh.
the nude.
Yeah.
You're that guy who's like wearing a t-shirt and somebody snaps a picture from behind. He's not wearing anything underneath the t-shirt.
And it's Walmart, so no one questions it.
Yeah, no, everyone's just like, no, that's normal. No,
Check that
Totally
yours
normal.
out.
It.
he's always bending over at the TCG stand.
All the
Oh
best
my
deals are on the bottom row, obviously.
Yeah.
Big facts, though. You got to check under the cabinets. You have to lift them up. Physically.
Is this a thing anywhere else? But at like my local stores, I don't have local stores, but my local-ish stores, people hide like really good, like
Yes.
the good commander decks. They'll
I
put them
wasn't
behind.
joking, Jared. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, but they don't hide them
Item
behind stuff. They lift up the bottom casing,
Yeah,
and you lift it up, and there's stuff under
they're,
there.
yeah.
Really?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Wow.
Go to the toy legit. Go to the toy section, and if I mean, you'd be creepy going and lifting up all those, but like,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if
What's under
if
this
you check
baby?
frequently, there will be stuff under there. Like
Yeah.
Hot Wheels are hot ones. I don't know why someone would hide a Hot Wheel if they can't. If you can't afford to buy a $1 Hot Wheel, maybe you shouldn't be buying things.
Yeah.
But like I've seen the Hot Wheels under there, like Lego sets. Lego sets
yeah.
are a big one.
Yeah.
Like Magic cards, Pokemon cards. Like when Pokemon was crazy during the whole Logan Ball thing, like you would there would be people putting cards under those things.
Can I? Okay. Sidetrack, but I've already sidetracked.
You're
this,
already
like 45
sidetracked.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
I feel
already
like I don't need
sidetracked.
permission at this point. eBay is it. Okay, have you guys seen the
I
Lego
don't touch
set
eBay.
that is the Blackbird from X-Men
X-Men?
93? Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. It's $80 normally, 80, 85 depending on where you buy it. I went on eBay and somebody was like, my son got this Lego set for his birthday, didn't want it, $30 and it's yours. Doesn't come with the box.
That's not true. He stole that.
I bought it. I bought it for $30 and I have it sitting in my living room.
Prove
eBay's
it.
where it's at, man. I got
You just encouraged that guy to steal more, Jarrett.
I mean, I didn't steal it.
And destroyed the box at the store because it's easier to hide those things than a
I
cart.
got this bad boy for $1 on eBay. You want to know what this is selling for on TCG Player?
a buck.
Not $1. Yeah, five finger discount, I guess.
Hey, if you want to join a legit selling service, come on over to the Drip Stream. Link in the bio. You can get up to $250 in drip credit just by signing up. Get your merch. Bang, bang, bang. All right.
Robbie the Drip Lord.
What a shill. Robbie sold out.
I
Sold out, yeah.
Sold out to the Infinity
Hell yeah.
Bros?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I bet on myself.
Good. That's what you should do. All right, guys. We got to get to the meat of this podcast before it gets to like an hour and we haven't even started.
You're
What are we talking
welcome. I got us so off track. I'm so sorry.
We are going to be talking about Fallout. But first, we should probably give a...
Spoiler warning?
well, we're not going to give a spoiler warning yet because I do want to do some non-spoiler reactions for people that may want a little taste of what it's like.
Sure.
So we're going to actually give the rating bumper here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Snap.
Special way that we rate things on the Infinity Bros podcast. So we'll be rating that after our review. But number one thing, guys, non-spoiler reviews, quick, like, I don't know, 60 to 120 second review of what you thought of Fallout. The TV show we're talking about here, obviously. Jarrett, why don't you go ahead?
The hardest of 6s out of 6. Paid respect to the IP. Didn't stop short. Actually told a contained story while leaving room for a second season. Lovable characters. Memorable and iconic callbacks to the games. Actually cared about what they were doing and did research beforehand. Phenomenal. Must watch for Fallout fans.
Very nice. Robbie.
I was confused. I thought we were rating it after, but I guess if we're rating it now.
I lied. I just went right ahead.
He just went for it.
Loose cannon, baby.
Wow.
I thought we were rating it later. Since Jared already did, I will also give it a 6 out of 6. This is a must watch.
Gosh. We're not leaving anything to the
Nothing to
audience right now.
modulate. Yeah. Titillating and foreplay is not our forte.
But here's the thing: me and Jared are both, I think, the big Fallout fans of this podcast. I don't know how deep Zane's got into it, but it pays homage to so much of what us Fallout fans expected, while expanding on new ideas and new stories. So it's everything you want as something that is more of an adaptation of a video game that we love and that has a big following. That's the reason they even made a Fallout show, is because Fallout fans are insane for it.
Obsessed.
And
Yeah.
it's just a fun freaking world that balances very, very well the brutality of Mad Max, almost, basically, I suppose you could say, with like these random like jingles that you can't get out of your head that are also like, when you think about the jingles, are also like super dark. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's a really fun balance that Fallout fans all over will love, and I think a lot of newcomers will also love.
Yeah. Zane.
I don't know how I'm going to follow both that up, but
He's like,
No,
it's
so-
a 1.
Just
Yeah, I
Zane,
like
just do what you normally do. Just copy what they said.
it was pretty good. I wasn't taking notes. No, so yeah, I guess from on my backstory, like I didn't really get big into Fallout. So like growing up, my first exposure to Fallout, I think, well, it was at my buddy's house, and I can't remember now. I think it might have been New Vegas, and then 3. Like I didn't own it and play it, but like played it at buddy's house, so it had some exposure. Fallout 4 was the first one I actually like played, so like I'm very much more of a newcomer to Fallout. But this show does such a good job of, even if you've never really played Fallout, it does a good job of establishing everything that you need and telling a good story, while also, if you're a hardcore fan and love it, it also it hits on those both angles. If you're new, you're going to enjoy it. It has a lot of cool stuff, a lot of interesting stuff, and if you're a longtime fan, it's also not going to leave you disappointed. And the Fallout universe for me is something that's really interesting, because I think it kind of takes a page a little bit out of the Star Wars universe, in that there's so many stories to tell that's been built in this universe, because there's so many parameters and it's just so much you can do. I mean, even still, like they set up in the show and what you know from the games too, there are hundreds of vaults. And each of those vaults can be telling a different story, the background from that vault, where you leave the vault. And there's so much in the Wastelands, from your Brotherhood of Steel to I mean, we don't see the synths, but there's so many different groups and how they all interact with each other. Like, there's so much story to be told in the Fallout universe. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, if you don't want to play the games, this is a great introduction to the Fallout universe, in my opinion.
Can I piggyback that for a second before you go, Isaac?
Go for it.
I think one of the things that lends itself well to this series is, like, for people who like sci-fi, this is sci-fi. For people who like, cowboy westerns, this is cowboy western. Like, we had a zombie, a cowboy, and a corporate espionage agent, and it was one character. Like, they have everything for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm coming at this from the only non-Fallout guy on this podcast at this point. But man, I absolutely loved this series. And Fallout games are already on my list of like games to play, because everybody holds them in such high regard, and I know, like, just from being in a community of gamers, like almost like what the games are about. So coming into this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm excited. This will be really cool. And this show blew me away. I thought it was fantastic. Very well done. Great cast. The overall vibes. I don't know if that's the best way to describe that, but like, I had a hard time not comparing it to The Last of Us from last year. And that was a great video game adaptation to a TV series. And this one, it was just as good TV show wise, like filmography, cinematography, like all of that stuff. But I loved it more than The Last of Us because it's hilarious. Like the comedy factor of it, the like dystopian, like almost satirical viewpoint that the Fallout world is set in. I just fell in love with it. So this has definitely made me want to go play the games more. Like, those games definitely are up higher on my backlog now that I've watched this series. So very excited about Fallout.
And I think that's what adds to it too with this show, is they capture that quirkiness while still having that serious, like they balance. It's so well balanced.
Yes.
And so it makes it a very enjoyable experience.
Well, and that's from the games. The games are so well balanced in that same regard that, like, you could be murdering something, and then like a Mr. Gutsy comes up and he's like, "How are you doing today, sir?"
Right.
Like, I see you've gotten something red on your jacket. How can I help you with that? Like, I just murdered like 100 ghouls.
When you're headshotting people with your Wazer rifle, you know what I mean? Like, it does not take itself too seriously.
Yeah. And that's the great thing, though, too, is that the makers of this series just went all out into that universe. Whereas, I mean, we were talking on our pre-show on our Patreon about Halo and how they kind of like did take themselves seriously and kind of hijacked the Halo IP, I guess, and just made it into a generic sci-fi.
Yeah.
They didn't go full on into that universe and that world and tell those stories. So I think, and that's another thing with The Last of Us too. Like, they did the same thing. They went full on into that universe and that game. They didn't want it to be anything different than what the game was. So I think that was a big kudos to both of those shows doing it the right way and not like Halo.
Well, the interesting thing is that The Last of Us is just a retelling of The Last of Us. Fallout is an original story.
Right? Yes.
It's just they just set it in this world. So it's like, that's probably the problem that I personally have with Halo, is that like, you can give me an original story, but you still have to stay true to the original idea of that game, which the Fallout series does and the Halo series does not. Like, it's just
Dungeons and
that
Dragons
weird
is another good
balance.
example of that, where they
Is
do
another
their
is a
own
great
original
example
thing.
of
And
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Fallout actually has the edge in terms of storytelling because, like you said, that The Last of Us is like just a straight retelling of that game, right? So Fallout just has so many more. They just have so much more to tell. Like you could tell a story from one vault that could be completely original, completely new, not mentioned in any of the games, but it still falls perfectly in that world, you know, whereas The Last of Us, it's like, I don't know how much room you have to tell original stories. And obviously they're going to be going with The Last of Us Part 2 for season 2 for however long the timeline, you know,
I
lines
wouldn't
up
be
on
shocked.
that.
I wouldn't be shocked if Amazon sees the success of Fallout and they kind of start doing what The Boys did. Now, like, The Boys has extra different shows. Like, you can go to a completely new area of Fallout or like in the Fallout world and make a new show or make like a pre-war story or like the day of the bombing story. Like there's so much you can do that doesn't have to tie into the original show. So they can just expand where, like you said, The Last of Us can't really expand. They're on the path that they're on that was based in the video game, which is a great story. Don't get me wrong, but it's like they don't have a lot of room to pivot. Where Fallout definitely does, and as long as they stay true to the original source material, they can just keep pumping it out because I'll keep watching it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we are going to dive into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, this is the moment you pause. We already have your download, so don't worry about that. We've got it captured in our pocket. Make sure you pause, go watch Fallout, come back to this later.
This is
Prepare yourself.
an Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
All right, guys, man, where do we even start with this? Because we've already talked a lot about kind of the backdrop and the setting and stuff like that. I mean, should we just dive in? What did you guys like about Fallout?
I think we go character to character. I think that's
go
the
by
way to
character.
do
Go
it.
by the three main protagonists.
Yeah, there we go. So we got, first of all, let's just go over the cast a little bit here. Ella Purnell plays Lucy McLean. Aaron Moten plays Maximus, and Walton Goggins plays Cooper Howard. Walton Goggins, dude.
Ooh, what a guy.
Man,
What a guy.
just perfect casting.
Yeah.
I think for Ghoul. And again, so is Ghoul, like, this is me as a non-Fallout fan asking you guys, is Ghoul like a specific character? Is he just representing ghouls in Fallout?
I think he's just representing like ghouls generically. I mean,
Yeah,
there
he's
is no
considered
character who's
the-
called Ghoul, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and they called it in this show, like when he
The Ghoul.
kills that one, like, he kills that like sheriff dude. He's like the Ghoul. So
Right.
he's clearly known as like the original kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. The most famous Ghoul, probably. But yeah, and honestly, we can probably add on Moises Arias as a main character, because his storyline honestly was my favorite by the end of the show. I was fully immersed in what he was going to find in Vault, 32 and 31 towards the end there. Oh man, it was so good how he went from this just like cowardly little dude who like was just like playing games on his Pip-Boy at the beginning,
Right.
and then all of a sudden he's like going by himself investigating these vaults which have never been touched by anybody in his community. Like, that was fantastic. I loved his storyline. Nobody else got anything on that? Nothing?
No, it was very well done.
That was a terrible segue.
Right.
Right,
No, because he probably had some of the most character growth that what we saw in the series, and just the way his story ends, like say at the end, you're like, I want more of what's going to go on with him, because they built it up all these different storylines. Obviously, you have the three kind of interconnected there, but they also kind of built that other sub storyline with him that it's didn't entirely close, and you're still just like, I still want more from that storyline too.
Well,
so like they did a good job of still like establishing that.
The most impactful storyline was Chet's. The guy goes from wanting to marry his cousin to having to wear some other dude's like top hat and like vest.
Then
he just gets a kid. Like, and he loses his best friend. Like, bro had
and that
lore.
just honestly, Chet just encapsulates Fallout to me because
He
it's just comical how he
Yeah.
just like is handed this baby and he's just like, okay, I
All
guess
right, we do this now.
this is mine
This is
now.
my role now.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Speaking on Moses Arias, and I think this is one of those things that, like, as a player, I really enjoy is one of my favorite things to do in any vault, and every game is like this, is if you're an established player, you know that every vault has a secret, right? There's almost no vaults that are like, okay. All of them are conducting some sort of experiment or like messing with their occupants. And so you can really put yourself in the shoes of him as a character and be like, well, what's this one about? Like, what am I missing here? And right away, when the dad talks about, like, as soon as I married your mother, I forgot about Vault 31. I was like, there's something in there that he is like hiding. So it was cool to see that journey from the viewpoint of like somebody who's an actual vault dweller, as opposed to me, the character with all the meta knowledge of like, yeah, they were probably splicing centaurs with like baby gulpers in here. You know what I mean?
yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, obviously that storyline with Lucy and her father Hank, but Ella Purnell, fantastic. I didn't recognize her. I guess Robbie, you've watched Yellow Jackets. She's in Yellow Jackets.
She's great in Yellow Jackets, and it actually, like, she's pretty obvious to tell because she has some ginormous eyes. You can't miss her. But no, she's great in Yellow Jackets. She was great in this as Lucy. Really carried the show. And speaking on character development, going from just a girl trying to find a husband to, you know, revolutionizing some of the Wasteland and then joining a ghoul and like learning what the Wasteland's all about while just being her like sweet innocent self. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to watch her journey throughout this, while like also trying to keep like her innocence, and then watching her innocence kind of fade as the Wasteland kind of takes over, like because she has to do what you had to do in the Wasteland, which is kind of one of the subplots of the entire series is that the Wasteland changes you and you have to do what you can to survive. And Ghoul kind of took her on that journey to figure that out.
I think that's the thing too, is like she is a real stand-in for, with the exception of, I think, New Vegas, and almost all of them, you're like a form of vault dweller, right? So New Vegas is kind of the odd man out, but if you look at like that character and how you play that, it's a lot like Isaac. Obviously, you're super into Skyrim. Todd Howard does this good job of like teaching you that nobody can remain unscathed when violence is entered into a situation. And so, like me as a player, and the first time I picked out any of the Fallout games, I was like, you know, I'm going to be kind of a pacifist. I want to help people. And like the moment you meet your first raider, you're like, nah, dude, I'm vaxxing this dude right now.
Out the window.
But she sort of, she maintains that she loses her innocence in a very real way. And I think when that is really driven home is the scene on the bridge when they're sort of crossing and she's like, no, we can trust these dudes. And then they shoot human teeth at them. But like she loses her innocence without losing her morals. And I think that's something that as a player, I could never get right. You know what I mean? Because like this guy has a really cool gun, so I am gonna kill him for this.
Well, I think to even
trench coat,
right, yeah. Well, I think even to go off what Jared said, the other scene then that really encapsulates that as well is after she leaves the Super Duper Mart and she brings out all those vials, and then as the ghoul's laying there and she's just like, I may end up looking like you, but I'm never gonna be like you. And she's like, that just kind of solidifies that moment of like, yeah, you lost that innocence, but like I'm still gonna keep that morality. I'm still gonna keep what makes me me. Like I'm not gonna fully. And the other part with Ella Purnell is like I couldn't figure out where I recognized her from, and I was like, she's so familiar. Like I haven't watched Yellow Jackets, and it took me a while. And then once I made the connection, I couldn't unhear it. But it was from her voice because she voices Jinx in
Arcane.
And once that connection, I couldn't unhear it. I'm like, oh, that's Jinx. But no, yeah, she absolutely crushes that character. She's so good at just the constant okie dokie. It's just like it's just fun. It's like that's such a Fallout thing. Yeah. It's just like how can you not like this character?
Yeah, it's her yippee ki. Her yippee ki.
Yeah.
Her yippee ki is okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Yeah, it's great. We already mentioned Walton Goggins. Like, dude is killing it right now between this and Invincible. Yeah, like he's Cecil in Invincible, and like man, he just did such a phenomenal job. And he's probably my favorite character in this, because I loved going back to his past and like kind of uncovering the story of how everything went down initially.
Yeah.
And I mean, that dragged on until the last episode. We were still figuring out stuff about, and that's how honestly this series felt like a real video game, is that we didn't really get a lot of exposition and story right away. We were uncovering the story as the game went along, like in so many RPGs, that's what you're doing. You're piecing that stuff together, figuring out what your past is all about. And I was like, man, this is basically a video game in television form in the best way. It was phenomenal.
And I think this is why, because Todd Howard directed this, who is obviously like, dude knows how to make video games because he's released Skyrim on everything, including the Samsung fridge. But people have speculated for years about the origins of the thumbs up, and I mean, like when Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 came out, the internet forums back in the day were like, I think it's because of the cloud, and when your thumb's smaller than the cloud, you're okay. But and so to have an actual like legit origin to that story, and then on top of
that
it,
always what it was though?
No, I mean that was always
that was
like
a real thing.
the rumor, but that was never confirmed until the series.
It was never like canon per se.
And then the second thing is the iconic blue and yellow that Vault Tech is known for came from his cowboy costume. She says like they even decided to make it in your color, and I'm like, that's such a cool origin for like the most iconic part of these games is like the Vault Boy and the blue and yellow. And so it was cool to see those little nods to it. Also, I'm mad at you guys that you think there's only 3 main characters when like Dogmeat is clearly there the whole time.
Oh man, how did I not mention Dogmeat?
Well, except when he was in the Nuka-Cola. Except when he was in the Nuka-Cola container.
Yeah, right.
Dogmeat was the third main character. Maximus is a side character.
To Fallout 4, by the way. That was phenomenal.
Oh, that's an Easter egg? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Him getting shoved in that container, that's where you find him in Fallout 4. Well, you don't find him shoved in the container, but yeah.
Because you find him at that gas station. So that's like the first
station.
yeah.
Dogmeat.
Screw that guy. What was his name? Thaddeus. Screw that guy.
Absolutely.
He's the worst.
What a Todd. Hate that guy.
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of Thaddeus, Knights of the Brotherhood storyline with Maximus. What do you guys think of that? I feel like that was still a good storyline, but that was probably the one that I was least invested in.
Yeah, for sure.
I could not really get behind Maximus's whole shtick.
Yeah.
It was fine, but it's just like you're just kind of there because you have.
He's just kind of there, honestly.
You're just like you have the connection to
the Brotherhood,
like the Brotherhood of Steel. So
right.
There's that, and you need that moving forward. Obviously, for some reason,
they pivoted. His character was really weirdly written because they pivoted between like this dude's an idiot and doesn't understand anything to like no, he's really smart, and then like he's a wimp, he can't stand up for himself to like he's a badass, and I'm like. I don't know where you're going with this.
I don't know who
what
this
is
guy
Maximus?
is.
Yeah.
He's
I
a
agree
hero or something. But,
yeah. It was really bizarre.
Yeah. And by the end of it too, you still don't really know what he wants.
Yeah.
Right? Like throughout the show, you kind of think like, oh, like he obviously likes Lucy and he wants to go be in the vault because he enjoyed his, whatever couple days in Vault 4 while he's eating popcorn and and Lucy's being like dragged away. But then at the end he goes back to the Knights of the Brotherhood and I was just like,
he's like, we're gonna hunt her, and I'm like,
what is going on here? Like I think he still maybe has it thought out in his head how he's going to end up with Lucy, but I didn't get that plan. I don't know how that's going to happen. So I don't think that was well constructed or articulated.
Dumb.
Yeah.
I think he's just,
and he could just be dumb.
He might just be dumb.
That could be. But I thought Aaron Moten did a pretty good job as that character. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interestingly written character that I don't think had the most impact out of all of those main characters. But
yeah, outside of just making sure the Brotherhood got there wasn't a big impact.
Right.
Go ahead, Zane.
I think part of it, like he is the weakest of like your main characters. But for me watching it, I put myself in the perspective of like that's what you get when like you're playing one of these games and you have a character, but like you keep being wishy-washy in your own choices in the
Sure.
game.
That's true.
Like that kind of felt like what that character was. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna kind of play the game this way, and then oh no, I'm gonna switch a little bit so I can get power armor, and then I'm gonna play this way. No, I'm gonna switch back to this way.
That's
Like that's
great
kinda,
analogy.
that's actually kind of how it felt. Like
That's so spot on, actually, because
I
like
was gonna say that's very much what I do when I play Fallout.
right, like you have those small goals, and you're like, all right, I might deviate from my plan to do a little shady stuff.
Well, because
And then
like,
get it, and then I'm gonna go back to the other way, and then like that's how I felt watching his character.
right, because when you play Fallout, like you get choices for your factions, and you can choose
Right.
to basically be parts of all of them,
yeah,
Right,
or you can stick to like one or two. So he is kind of the I'm every faction. Because
Here's
I want all
the
the cool stuff.
And-
I want the babe, and I want the power armor.
right.
it's kind of spot on too, because like the Brotherhood of Steel, every single storyline where you play with them is almost always like the coolest people to side with, right? Especially in
Yeah.
3, they're amazing, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
are so rigid on their morality that in a
Yep.
lot of those games they're like, all right, I'll let you can be a Brotherhood of Steel, but you got to murder your companion. And so it's like,
Yep.
oh shoot, do I really want this anymore?
Yeah.
And so I did the same thing, especially with Fallout 4, where like I would start a playthrough and then they'd be like, all right, the dude you've been traveling with for so long is now a synth, like kill him. And you're like, ooh, but do I have to?
Right.
But like,
Right.
I
What
don't want
if
to
I
lose my
didn't, though?
armor and make you mad. Like, yeah. That's so spot on, Zane. Good call there.
That was a very good
analogy.
call, man. That makes a lot
Good
of
analogy.
sense. So Maximus doesn't suck. Maximus is just all of us.
He's
and
just
we all
every
suck.
single one of us.
Right.
It's all of us. All of us combined. Yeah, one other thing I wanted to bring up was Sarita Chowdhury plays Lee Moldaver, who
Yes.
kind of is painted as the main villain
Right.
of this series
Yeah.
up until that finale.
The heel turn at the end.
what-
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was solid. I liked her character and stuff like that. The one thing I was confused by that I don't know if I missed something or this is a reference to the game. When we're in Vault 4 and they all start like doing sacrifices and worshiping, and then the banner rolls down and it's her. I was confused, and they did not follow up on that at all. I'm like,
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
I
have
think
no
we'll
idea.
get
what
answers
is
to
going
that.
on?
I think a lot of the answers lie in Fallout New Vegas, which we know we're going to visit because that's how the season
That was the
ends.
ending. Yeah.
And obviously we saw House. The other thing is, there are a lot of cults in the Wasteland, and I think she's one that. This is my theory. I don't know if this is true or not. I think she's a clone because obviously we see her in the past,
Ooh.
and one of two
Right.
things happens: either she's been cryo froze, which we've seen happens all the time. It's in Fallout 4. It's in the Vault 31. Or I think they're just cloning her over and over again. And I think she has a connection. There's a character in New Vegas called the Burning Man or the Burning One. I can't remember what his title is. I think she has a connection there because they call her like the Mother of Ashes or something. My
Yeah.
guess is she was killed. Somebody burned her alive, and then she showed up shortly after that. And they're like, "Oh, cool. She's like a phoenix rising from the ashes." I think she's a clone.
Interesting.
That was my assumption because they didn't really explain like how she's alive.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah.
like, at
Clearly
first,
not a
at
ghoul.
first I was like, okay, is
Right.
she? Yeah, I was like, is she a ghoul? No, because she's not wasting away. She's not clearly on like doing drugs and like whatever. So
That
my
was
thought
my
she
first
has to
thought,
be a
too.
clone. Like she has to be
Yeah.
like on her 4th or 5th generation of cloning. She dies and then somehow automatically comes back, which she could have clones just in Vault 31.
Yeah,
And that's why that little brain robot is there, just pumping those out whenever they need them.
I think
I'm kind
so,
of on the same
yeah,
same vibe with Jared here.
they're really revolving around the way they end this series really revolves around a lot of the stuff in New Vegas. And I think she has a connection to House. The interesting part of this is she's like deeply ingrained in the NCR. And to me, that's the biggest thing that like, okay, clearly like she had to play with this. I don't know if she worked with House or if she was against House, but I think Fallout New Vegas holds the answers to this for sure.
Yeah, and that's interesting you point that out, Jared, because we see in Vault 4 that they are very into the new California Republic or whatever they call it. And then when we go up to Moldaver's like base or whatever, she's also got a flag there too.
Yeah. And
So
Shady Springs was
she
their
probably
like
started it.
headquarters or whatever. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But my first thought was what you guys mentioned, that she's probably a clone. When the ghoul was like tracking her down and he finally saw a picture of her and kind of like connected the dots, my thought was like, I thought she was a ghoul, and I was like almost half expecting her to like peel off a
her
fake
face.
nose
That
at
would
the
be
end,
weird.
you know, like I'm right, I'm just like you. But that's an interesting theory, and I'm excited to see that play out. But that one threw me off when I saw that, and the cult thing didn't throw me off so much because I kind of expected that with that dystopian wasteland and cults everywhere and stuff like that. But when that banner rolled down and it was her, I was like, okay, I don't know how the dots connect here. I just don't know.
I think that's a thing we answer next series or next season for sure.
Yeah, and then you mentioned, I mean, we follow Hank in the power armor to the last shot of the series, which is New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you guys looking forward to in season 2? Do you think it's like generally going to be New Vegas themed, obviously with that shot? And what happens in New Vegas? Because I have no clue.
A lot, depending on who you side with.
Right.
So I'm a little confused by the timeline of this. I don't know when exactly it takes place. So depending on if this is before or after the events of the Hoover Dam, we'll either see Kaiser's Legion and the NCR as it was and House, or it's post that we find out who won that battle and we find out if House is still alive or not. But you're going to expect a lot of robots, a ton of Elvis references. You're going to see dogs with robot brains. You're going to see, there's a lot going on in New Vegas. If you play one Fallout game, it's got to be New Vegas. That's the best game ever made.
Just the one that I have not. That's the one I actually haven't
so
played a lot of,
good,
is New
dude.
Vegas, which is wild. But I played the crap out of 3 and I played the crap out of 4. And I didn't.
3 is amazing. 4 is interesting. I feel like it's weird.
4 is divisive among the fans.
Yeah, and then New Vegas is the quintessential Fallout experience, in my opinion.
And then 76. The people that play it will say that it got better.
It's so good. 76 is so good. I'm not even gonna lie. I love it.
Obviously, Jared plays Fallout 76.
But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much because I feel like, one, I don't want to spoil because there are a few video games that pull a gotcha as well as New Vegas does. Like the ending to that game, depending on who you side with, is so out of left field. And I feel like they're probably going to touch some of that in season 2. So I will not spoil that for those who haven't. Let's just say that there's a lot of robots and a lot of cool stuff there.
I'm interested to see how much they actually touch what we know from the video games.
Yeah.
Because like there's drops of characters, right, that we've seen, but there isn't like story connection so far that I noticed in the first season.
There's definitely no one-to-one, and like they're using vaults that we haven't visited, and so like I don't know how much they will connect to the story, but the fact that we're in New Vegas, I feel like is so spot on. And we've seen House, who was like one of the main characters in New Vegas. So I don't know. Yep. Todd Howard is directing it, so like dude knows his video games.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it being bad. I'm curious to see how much they'll connect to what we know of New Vegas, know of that Fallout world.
Because let's say this is post. Because obviously, like the NCR that we know from this TV series got wiped out with Shady Springs or whatever it's called. So that makes me think that it's post the video game New Vegas. In which case, if you're an avid fan of that series, whatever choice they decide to land on for the ending of that as being canon for this TV series is going to tick off half of your fan base immediately. Because some people are diehard, like, no, Kaiser was right. This is who we go with. Some people are like, no, House was right. Some people are like, no, NCR all the way. They have the coolest armor. I'm siding with these bad boys. So I feel like
that's how in number 3, that's how I decided everything was who had the cool stuff.
It's always the NCR. Their armor is so cool. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they got to be careful.
Yeah. Okay, so just backtracking a little bit. But did you ever feel like in that last episode that there was going to be like a pause screen and you were going to get to decide what like Lucy did?
Bro,
Like that's how like
That would've been
interactive.
wild.
Like,
yes.
I'm
That
so
would've been
invested
never
in this
got
as like a
that
video
scene.
game that I was
Yeah.
legit like, is this going to pause and ask me what I want to do?
That would be so
Because I
sick.
wanted to. Like it felt it. That's exactly how it should feel, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
I was like, I would 100% go for
Especially,
an
yeah,
interactive
in that
experience right
finale
now.
when she's got the choice of like, hey, do I roll with my dad or
Yeah.
Dude, I'm saying no.
Do I
That's
let-
what Fallout
Oh,
feels
him
like.
with us?
She
Isaac,
pulls
that is
out the
legit
gun.
What Fallout feels like.
She pulls out the gun. It cuts to a vat scene, and like it does the slow mo, like
Yeah.
and you just gotta
And you get to
choose.
decide. Go.
Oh my gosh, Robbie!
that would have been wild.
I would have been like, I didn't sign up for this, but I'm happy I'm here. Could you imagine? Because then you could
Oh
go
my
into like
gosh.
next season. What if they do like a split, and you watch your version of it?
Your ending, but then I
Your
feel
ending.
like you would have to almost do 2 different like season 2s for that. To
No,
actually
it would be
matter.
like
Right.
the
Yeah.
first episode would be different, and that would be probably it. But
I kinda
don't know
like
if you
that.
could really do that.
That would be
Oh
wild.
my
Gosh,
gosh!
I legit. It just that's how the video games feel is when
Yeah.
you're playing them. Is like
Right.
you have a really hard choice. Neither of them are good, but you have to make one. Kind of like our presidential election.
Right.
Fair.
Presidential
Incredibly
election
accurate.
does feel a
There
lot
are
like shoot
other
your mom or
choices,
shoot your
but they
dad.
really there are other choices, but they really don't matter.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's a reference
was
that I
so
didn't expect
good.
to be made today.
Yeah.
That's Fallout.
Let's follow.
My other big question to throw out here, and just because
Hancock for president.
it's fun for season 2,
So
and because also what we got teased at the end, do we see our first Deathclaw in season 2?
Oh my gosh! I thought they were gonna when they showed us the Yaogwai. I was like,
Oh yeah, I thought it was gonna be a
Yes.
Deathclaw,
Yeah.
right?
no
But-
death claws and no super mutants.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we
So
we got
like,
some things to get
what do you
to.
think we're getting season 2? Do you think we're gonna get both? Do you think we're gonna get
Mothman,
one or the
Scorched
other?
Beast, the Wendigo.
Right.
No, I think we'll get a Deathclaw. I think we'll get
Yeah.
probably like more of the robots, the protectors or whatever, the Assaultrons. Like, I
Yeah.
think we'll get the more iconic ones. I don't think we're gonna get the weird 76 like obscure.
Yeah.
But who knows? We
I
did get
wonder what-
gulpers, which is wild. That's like the
True.
most
Maybe they just
obscure.
had to choose a creature.
Yeah,
Jared, stop funneling your dice.
I'm so sorry. My ADHD
This is
was
a
like,
podcast.
have a dice cup. I'm so sorry, guys.
Just hear random clinking all of a sudden.
I broke a fundamental law of podcasting.
But like
Oh.
speaking just because you're going with the Gulper part, like that scene was probably my favorite scene of the whole show.
Oh,
After
sure.
he baits the Gulper, and how she's like, no, we need to go after the head, and then how the Ghoul's just like, well, don't you know,
I'm not
well, he-
torturing you. I am fishing.
well, not just that, but when he's like, the golden rule of the wasteland is his golden
Yeah,
rule was
the-
he
Oh,
spend
yeah.
a lot of time on side
quests.
side
Yeah, that
quests.
so
I was like,
funny.
that is the
Even
perfect
as a
comment.
non-Fallout player, I was like,
Yep.
there it is. Yep,
There it is.
is.
That is so true.
That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
That was a great line.
So good.
So coming to the finale, all of the endings for these characters, Norm, Lucy's brother, still in the vault. He gets his way into 31, and it kind of ends
Yeah.
right there.
They
So
really
like
got
we
off.
did we even see him in the finale, or did it end in the previous episode? I think it ended in
It
the
ends in
previous
the previous
episode.
episode.
But we don't see anything about him, and the little robot brain guy gives him a choice, like, hey, do you want to be in cryo sleep?
You guys
or do
realize?
wanna
Did you
basically-
guys catch that? That's Rod. You guys know that's Rod, right?
I don't know what that means.
The dude
I thought it
who
was
kept,
Bud.
or Bud. That's his name.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Bud.
that was
Yeah,
Bud.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I thought you were making a game reference.
no,
and I
it's
didn't
the-
catch. I was like,
Yeah, it was the guy who
No.
kept it was
Yeah.
the vault. Okay.
yeah, Bud Atkins or
Bud
what,
Atkins.
what is
Yeah.
what's
I don't
his
know why I
name?
said
Yeah,
Rod, but
right.
yeah.
The other one that took me way too long to put the
Rod,
pieces
yeah,
together.
Rod.
Well, not just Bud, but Betty.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why that one took me for literally till that last episode to click that, like, oh, that's the old lady, that's the overseer. Oh, that was her assistant.
Right,
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know why I never put that together. And it was just like, oh, I guess I need
Yeah.
to pay attention to that more.
Right. Yeah. Just they did a lot of great things, like with the callbacks to the flashbacks to the past and stuff like that. those are some of my favorite parts of the show. But yeah, we get Norm basically leaves this choice of like, hey, I can put you in cryo sleep, or you can basically starve to death
Just die here.
in this vault. Yeah, you can just die.
Yep.
So what do you want to do? And then it just cuts off. So what do you guys think Norm's going to do next season?
I have a wild out there theory. I don't
Okay.
think he's going in the cryopod. I think he's going to kill all those people, and then I assume he's going to steal the Robo Brain. I think he's going to put himself in the Robo Brain. But
See,
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know about kill, but I think that's how he's gonna play on Bud. I think he's gonna wake everyone up, and then
That's
like
what I was thinking.
you're gonna kill everyone unless you open the door,
Right.
because that was his whole directive of to
Yeah.
keep those vaults going.
Right.
Well, that's not gonna happen if you kill everyone in here.
Yeah,
so that was my
payoff.
thought.
I feel like the payoff isn't going to be as big as we were hoping. I think it's going to be a pretty simple like,
They
I'll
built it
just
up
kill
really
all these
well.
guys,
Yeah, right.
or you'll let me out. Like,
Right.
I
Because
think that's
obviously
basically
they
what's
have
gonna
more story to tell with the vaults.
Yes.
They're
Vaults
you know
are always a big part of what's
right.
coming.
Yeah, and they're repopulating 32. I feel like, and this is just me as again a non-Fallout player, we're spending a lot of time in the vaults. Do they do that in the games like at all? Because I feel
You
like the
kinda
games are all
choose
about
that
the Wasteland,
sometimes.
right?
No.
not really. I mean, it's
Okay.
it's pretty 50-50. You're not stuck in a vault for half the game, but for most of the games, you visit so many vaults that you will spend half of the game in vaults. But yeah.
Gotcha. Because
It's
you're
fun. Like
visiting other vaults.
you can basically like, speaking of side quests, like you can spend a good 5-6 hours just going to another vault,
Yeah.
living that vault's life for a little while, and learning all about that if you want.
Whatever psychopathic experience they were put through.
Yeah.
76
They're not-
lets
they're
you
not
build
always
your
like-
own vault, which is phenomenal. Your house can be a vault. Yeah.
But that's also like then part of the unique thing, because I had another buddy that mentioned this too. Of all the vaults are uniqueness, there's no other vaults that are three vaults that are connected together.
Correct.
Like that's also
No, that's-
unique to the show.
Yeah.
Like everything else is all spread out. It's one vault.
from what we know of the
Well, right. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Like but from what we know, like this is the first
Yeah.
time it's been shown that you have three interconnected vaults.
yeah.
So obviously it would contain more story there, because even from the games, one vault has so much story. Well, now you're basically connecting three of them
Right.
to build.
Well, I think that explains how Lucy said that their vault doesn't have any experiments.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
part of their experiment.
I was just gonna say
Right.
that because like when they go to Vault 4, they're like, "Oh, what's the deal with your
Yeah.
vault?" Basically,
Right.
and she's like,
Yep.
"There is no deal," and they both look at each other and
It's
like,
like
"Probably
yep.
something
Yes,
bad
yeah,
then
yeah,
if you don't
yeah.
know what it is."
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Vault 4, actually though, Chris Parnell playing the overseer with the one eye.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
gosh,
good.
that was just. I feel like that was peak Fallout.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah.
like how Lucy just. She
You mean
she's
Goosey?
so distracted by it, but does not acknowledge it at all. It's just, oh, that was amazing. I thought
That's
that
another one of
whole-
those. That's another one of those like choice wheel things where you're like, do you mention what the
Do
hell
I
is up
say
with your one eye, or
something?
like, do you just play it off like it's normal?
I love too that
Oh my gosh.
they made Maximus. He was the one who was like super chill with that whole situation. He was like, "Yeah, what do you mean? Like, blah blah blah."
It was
And
one eye.
I'm like, if he was raised by the Brotherhood of Steel, he would have pulled his gun on every single person.
Yeah.
in there. Like, he
Right?
would have murdered them all immediately. But he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. That dude's got one eye. Seems normal."
Seems normal. Yeah, I just totally chill with it. And it's so funny the flip that he makes too, because like he gets down there, he's not trusting anything, even though Lucy's like, "Oh yeah, it's a vault. Like
And they
it's
just
great.
feed him,
It's
and he's
great."
like, "Yeah."
And then he gets some popcorn, and it's like, boom, instant change.
I feel that if there was a mass serial killer in my house and he was like, "Dude, try this espresso, it slaps," I'd be like, "Yeah, this guy's warming up on me."
Yeah, I like this guy actually.
New flavor of Celsius, great. I'm sold.
Absolutely. But yeah, the vault life, loved every aspect of that. That was fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
Loved all the backstory we got with it. And then the big bomb reveal, which, I mean, you could kind of see that there was something behind the scenes with them, but like that, you know, we finally gets revealed that, you know, Hank was one of the Vault 31 cryopod dudes. And then we see him. Is that in the finale episode? We see him in the flashback
Yeah.
where he's going to sign, or he wants Cooper to sign his poster or whatever.
Right.
That was cool. to see him in the flashback. That was the thing that I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh dang, okay. So now and then Zane, you mentioned too that like Betty, the secretary or whatever, is also, you know, the overseer of 33 now. But yeah, I just thought that whole aspect was just so well built, and I loved every aspect of the vault storyline, and kind of a cool, I don't know. And again, this is me. Is there kind of a similar storyline like that in any of the Fallout games, or is this completely original?
Of
like the storyline of like them using, what is it, buds or something like that, the program that he called it, to like cryo sleep these people to be administrators over these vaults.
That's kind of almost that's pretty close to the storyline of Fallout 4. Only instead of like cryo freezing them to be like leaders of the vaults or whatever, they just cryo freeze those dudes so that they'll have like really, really good genetic DNA to work with, who aren't tainted by the Wasteland. So yeah, pretty similar to Fallout 4.
Gotcha. But yeah, I loved every aspect of that. I thought it was just hilarious. And the when they do the vote to see who's going to be overseer, and they're putting up like posters, and what's his name that plays Woody? Oh gosh, he's funny. Zach Cherry plays Cherry. Woody. He's like, man, I put up like 10 posters. Like I ran a really good campaign.
Yeah.
Good campaign.
Oh
There's
my
like
15
15 people in total. Yeah.
So funny. But yeah, any other aspects of this show that we want to kind of touch on before we start wrapping things up, guys? Because we are starting to tread on long Infinity Bros territory. So what do we want to hit on?
I think just the Easter eggs. I think there was so many like really cool Easter eggs. We mentioned the one with dog meat and sort of how he got his name and stuff. And I think a lot of those were really cool callbacks to like almost blink and you'll miss it. Like the junk jet, having them like blow out the junk jet with all the like baby doll parts and stuff.
Yeah, the baby doll part,
It was so cool. Yeah, I think I loved the Easter eggs and the nod to like fans who played these games forever.
I can't wait for the railway gun or whatever it's called.
Oh my gosh, yes!
If we get that and it makes the noise, I'm gonna be so
thrilled. The choo choo as it
yeah, it shoots railroad spikes, Isaac. That's what it does. It's
actual like, and it's a giant steam engine looking thing, and it goes choo choo every time you fire it.
Shoots railroad spikes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's fantastic. The weapons, just seeing some of the weapons that they were using, that we actually use in the game, they just look so good. Like they paid attention to details very, 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 very well.
One thing that I want to mention too before we wrap up is that the soundtrack for this series was incredible.
The
soundtrack is what
that's Fallout.
That's Fallout.
Just drew me into this series. I love the old timey vibe. Everybody feeling good, and like, you know, you get the warm record kind of feel to it, and then they're just amazing. Like going over and killing people and like doing stuff. You know,
it's amazing how many songs there are about nuclear bombs.
Oh heck yeah!
50s and 60s. And then
these are real songs.
They're
made for Fallout.
Well, like I would keep pausing it, and you know the X-ray, and like that's actual like songs. It shows the music info, and you're just like, why were these popular in the 50s? Why were you singing about this?
And that's honestly one of the best parts about the Fallout game. Yeah. It's just like if you're wearing power armor, you just have that on. Like
this was a nice little Easter egg too. Is like with the exception of Three Dog, almost all of the like radio hosts in every Fallout game are just like the weirdest, most degenerate people.
That's what I was just going to add. It was the chair on top that it was Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen cameo.
There's this dude, and you guys will know exactly who I'm talking about. But Isaac, you'll have to like go YouTube this. There is the radio host in Diamond City. Is the most relatable. This is how I feel every day of my life. He's this radio host who's like, here's a song for you. You'll like it, or maybe you won't.
He's always scared. Yeah.
He's like, I'm just gonna play it for you. Just like the most insecure.
Legit, like it's like Antimonize Johnson trying to sell like radio.
It's the most anxiety ridden.
We got music for you here tonight. We're gonna play this song. I hope you guys like it. It's fantastic.
Oh my
The
gosh.
radio DJs are
Amazing.
like one of the best parts about Fallout, and so the fact that it was so good.
Perfect. Yeah, just cherry on top of that show. That's so great.
And that doctor making that dude a ghoul, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
that was great.
phenomenal.
Jarrett and Robbie, you guys already mentioned that you gave it 6 out of 6s. So Zane and I still have to give it scores. Zane, what was your rating?
I mean, it's 6 out of 6. It's too good. Everyone should go watch it.
Yep. Same. 6 out of 6 for Isaac.
Sweet
Infinity Snap on the Infinity Bros podcast. That's obviously when we rate everything a 6 out of 6. So there you go. Fallout. Incredible show. Looking forward to season 2 in the future. If you made it this far and you haven't watched it,
What the heck are you doing?
Should. It'd be really weird if you listened to this whole thing and you didn't watch it, but you should
Exactly.
because it's incredible. So
Go buy a Fallout game. They're super cheap. If you haven't
Dude,
played
yeah.
yet,
Oh yeah.
speaking of that,
Yeah.
so I actually have Fallout 3 and New Vegas from Epic Game Store. They just give out a free game every week, and Fallout games have been on there. I bought Fallout 1, 2, and and Tactics. I think it's called
Oh,
Fallout
sure, yeah.
Tactics for $5 on Steam. That whole package for $5.
Wow.
And those obviously are very different games.
yeah,
They're
that
like
was
computer
pre Bethesda. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys are, I bought them because I like those kind of games, so I'm gonna try to go back and get into it. I played like 15 minutes of it one time when I had Game Pass, and I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting at all. So definitely gonna go back and revisit that, knowing in the mindset that these are much
Very
different games than
yeah.
what
Right.
yeah than what other people have said, but about Fallout 3, New Vegas 4, and all that good stuff. Yeah, they're cheap right now. Like Steam has them for $5 a pop, I think. So definitely worth going and checking out, picking up. For
Fallout
future
New
play.
Vegas Ultimate Edition is also on Game Pass. If you're,
Oh,
Oof.
there you go. Which is a phenomenal deal.
I'm gonna
Go get
install
Game
it
Pass.
right now. Actually,
All right,
Aw,
boys. I think that is all we have for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. What a blast it was to have all you guys on one episode together again.
Hey,
It's
thank
like
you.
the Infinity Bros of old.
me
Just
just
hitting our stride.
yeah, me just going off the rails. Zane
Yeah, I mean,
agreeing
that's
with
normal,
everybody.
though,
It was fantastic.
Dude, I've been listening to our old Off Topic Gamer episodes, which are up on our Patreon for free right now. You can go listen to those, and those are just bonkers. We
that'd be rough.
go
So wait,
off
it's-
topic
wait,
every
it's,
5 seconds. It's wild.
so it's just the audio
it's just the
while
audio.
we're playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean it's
Oof.
a podcast that we're doing while playing Fortnite, so it is honestly kind of hard to listen to sometimes.
I was gonna say so wait, what we're putting on Patreon is just gonna be the audio.
That's free. That's just a little
That's-
taste
no,
to get you into
I'm
the
I'm all
actual
for it.
Patreon
I'm just
content.
trying. I'm just making sure
Yeah.
we know what we're getting into.
yes. Just so you know what
Hear
you're
the
getting into.
anxiety
The
in
Off
our
Topic
voices
Gamers
when
were
you speak
who
up.
we were before we became the Infinity Bros, and we tried to host a podcast while we were gaming. I
It was as bad as
would
it
say
sounds.
it's not very successful. Yeah, it's as bad as it sounds. Exactly. If you're into that kind of thing, go check out our Patreon because you can listen for free. You don't even need to be subscribed to our Patreon to catch those. Give you a little taste of what it was like before we got a little bit more organized as the Infinity Bros. So, Robbie, Jarrett, Zane, thanks so much for being on, guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I could be
And
here.
thank you, listener, for making us a part of your podcast experience. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We love you 3000. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at The Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send us listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.